The year is 1788. It's September. You and your men are on a mission. A mission to stop the Ottoman Empire from further invading and getting closer to the Hungarian borders. Belgrade was already taken. Prior attempts to liberate the town were unsuccessful. The fear is kicking in. But there is no reason to fear, because the Holy Roman Emperor Joseph II was commanding the army of 80 to 100,000 soldiers himself. All the nationalities, from Italians and Slovaks, Serbs and Croats, even Germans and Frenchmen, came together under one commander to stop the Ottoman invasion. You'll show them Turks what it means when they provoke several different nations and nationalities, right? The Austro-Turkish War has just begun. Oh yeah, before we continue any further, if I could just trouble you to subscribe to my channel. If you could do that, it would mean a lot to me. Oh, and also like the video if it's not too much to ask. It helps me make more content like this. Now back to the story. Now you might be thinking, wow, all these nationalities came together and won over the Ottoman Empire. What an amazing and uplifting story, right? Oh my sweet summer child, we don't do that on this channel. First things first, having that many nationalities in one single army meant that communication was nightmare. I mean, I can imagine it even being a problem right now, but imagine how it must have been in the 18th century. Half the time you wouldn't understand the guy in front of you or the one giving you the orders. Second of all, diseases were rampant on the front lines, most notably malaria. It is in fact on this front that Joseph II got ill and eventually died in 1719 upon his return from the war. Epidemics were killing soldiers left and right. Thousands of them have died to different illnesses. And lastly, it was a high-quality, one-sided shit show. You can either look at it as the easiest victory in the Ottoman Empire history or the weirdest loss in the Habsburg monarchy's history. Allow me to further explain. Now, having heard that the Ottomans under the command of Kocha Yusuf Pasha are nearing them, the Joseph II decided to stop near the river Timis on the valley of Karansebes. As the night was rapidly approaching, the tents were being made left and right in order to accommodate troops, at least most of the troops. In the Emperor's tent, serious discussions were being held on where to take the fight with the Turks. Wallachia now seemed like the most logical option. Generals were going back and forth on what strategies to take and how to minimize the losses. Victory was but in their grasp. Now, while in the main tent they were throwing big words around like attacking from the flank, strengthening the rear, and yada yada yada, a hussar regiment crossed the river in order to search for the Turks in the nearby area. Fortunately enough, they didn't find any sign of Turks, but rather a camp of Roma people who were more than willing to offer weary hussars drinks and company. Hussars, not wanting to be impolite, took their offer and started drinking heavily. Not long after that, an infantry group also crossed the river and came across the same camp of Roma people with hussars already pretty drunk. Now, wanting to get a little bit of schnapps for themselves, they asked to join on the fun, but were promptly refused by the hussars themselves, because they were dicks. Not only did they refuse to share their drinks, they sort of encircled the barrels and made some sort of fortification to guard it. As you might have guessed, this naturally pissed off infantrymen. It's like you're a freshman in any sports settings. You hate to see that smug face on an older guy who's a senior when he passes by you. Naturally, a fight ensued, and soon after that a gunshot. Single gunshot. Now, remember back when I told you that this was a high quality one-sided shit show? It's about to begin. Now among all the fighting, one infantryman, well apparently an infantryman, but who truly knows, right? Thought he saw Turks somewhere in the dark and started yelling, "Turci! Turci!" Think I know his nationality at least. Now these scared hussars shitless, not wanting to do anything with the Turks in the middle of the night, after several barrels of schnapps, they started running towards the main camp. Meanwhile, it didn't help that infantrymen also started to panic, and since nobody understood each other, it was truly chaotic. Everyone was fleeing everywhere, and officers trying to calm down everyone and reaffirm the situation started yelling "Halt! Halt!" in German, which only worsened the already worse situation. The bulk of infantrymen, not having heard a single word of German in their lives, instead of "Halt! Halt!" started hearing "Allah! Allah!" Now imagine that, hearing "Allah! Allah!" No matter what nationality you are, no matter what language you speak, you would recognize that word. No one had any time to spare on the idea of why the hell would they shout "Allah, Allah" if it was supposed to be a surprise night attack. But who can blame them? The situation was quite dire. I mean, the Turks were here, or there, or somewhere, right? Meanwhile, in Karansebes, in the main army camp, there was no singing and dancing or drinking. Men were on the lookout for the Turks. Now a loud gunfire across the river drew their attention, and then a sudden yell, "Turci! Turci!" was enough to alarm every standing soldier. Now the artillery commander was the first to react, seeing as the enemy soldiers were coming towards their camp on a horseback. He ordered cannons to fire. Loud cannon fire woke the entire military force. Yelling and gunshots were going left and right. Instead of trying to stay calm and assess the situation, they all started running in every possible direction and shooting at every shadow they saw. The Holy Emperor Joseph II didn't fare any better. Having fallen off of his horse, he had to crawl through a creek to a nearby house. Several days later, after the real Ottoman forces came, they had a sight to see. A bunch of dead and wounded soldiers around Karansebes and the outskirts. Needless to say, the capture of a town went without a hitch. Not a single Turkish soldier died in this battle. Well, technically not a single Turkish soldier was involved in a battle, so of course it's natural that they had zero casualties. While on the other side, most people agreed that following the battle, 1,200 soldiers, wounded soldiers, were taken to the Arad fortress. 150 outright died on spot, 538 men, 24 Jäger, and one officer ran God knows where, missing for a certain period. They did eventually return. Most of them did. And somehow they managed to lose 3 cannons and the total army payroll. I think that in any dictionary, online dictionary specifically, whenever you search for a word, stupid, stupidity, idiocy, etc., etc., there should be a picture of this battle with a little description on why. This series of events, this whole battle, is one of my favorite historical things ever. Just imagine the faces of the Ottoman army forces coming to invade Karansebes and seeing all those wounded people, not knowing what happened, who did this, or who in the hell could scare 100,000 soldiers to run away. I myself would be hard-pressed to even imagine a fictitious scenario with such events. Whenever I read this battle, I imagine it like a Monty Python sketch where they all play oblivious idiots. Anyway, that's it from me. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content in the future. See ya!